I gathered 10 instant piston doors, starting from level 1 all the way to level 10, increasing in complexity. And today I'll be showcasing each one of them and explaining the basics of how they're even possible in the first place. But without further ado, let us begin with just a 1x1 piston door that closes instantly. Basically how it works is we power the piston through this block, which we push up with block event delay, which makes the piston turn on and off instantly, teleporting the block. Block event delay is just piston movements happening at the same time, but processed by the game in a certain order. It can be chained in many ways, including the way I did in the 1x1 using so-called quasi-connectivity. Basically, if you power the block on top of a piston, the piston will get powered, but it won't extend until it gets an update. That is why you can chain block event delay by having pistons quasi-powered and updating them in a chain like this. And that is what the 1x1 is based on, though it is a short chain. I hope that wasn't too confusing yet, but the opening is much simpler. After the piston 0 ticks on closing, it will stay extended through the slime block, which allows us to start retracting it instantly on opening. Yeah, for most so-called instant piston doors, only the closing is actually instant. But for the last one, well, let's just say you'll see. Anyway, a 2x2 that closes instantly. Still keeping it pretty simple. This design is actually the smallest instant closing 2x2 ever at 45 blocks. It is just an instant 0-tick pulse generator that powers on both opening and closing, connected to 4 pistons. There are many other ways of doing it, but the one I showed just happens to be the smallest. Look, this one uses no redstone dust. The instant dual-edge 0-tick generator, which this door is based on, consists of an upward 0-tick repeater which generates a 0-tick when given a short pulse to the bottom piston. To make it fire automatically from a block update, we add some stuff. Great explanation, I know. Generally, we wanna use something like this because it's simpler, but there just wasn't enough space in this door. A seamless 2x2 flush piston door that closes Okay, I think you get the point, they all close instantly. That is kind of the point of the video. This door is a little more complex, made by me and Sacred Redstone, and it is also the smallest of its kind at 240 blocks. I won't be explaining every door in depth, including this one, so let me just give a brief overview. The layout is this. The closing has 3 chained 0 ticks. This, and this. It all happens instantly, of course, and is mostly done by chaining these 0-tick repeaters, and whatever this is. Opening is 2 moves. This, and after 0.15 seconds, this. And then an extra move to make it seamless. So at full speed, it looks like this. And here it is with the wiring. A few pretty cool circuits this door uses is this instant dual-edge 0-tick generator and this circuit that works as a 0-tick repeater on closing and as a 0.15 second pulse generator on opening, which is the perfect timing. An instant 3x3 circle door. Okay, it's not that circular, but close enough. The wiring is really bad, but that is in order to make it simpler to explain. The closing is 4 chained 0 ticks. This, and this. The single piston extenders aren't as specific as long as they 0 tick. Opening is 2 moves. This, and after 0.15 seconds, this. And again, the singles aren't as specific. There are many ways to wire it, but the simplest way I think is to use 2 ABBA or ABBA circuits. What they do is chain 0 ticks in orders of A to B and B to A instantly. Alright, so based on the fact that opening is 2 moves, you would need to have one of the ABBAs for these 2 pistons, let's make that the yellow one, and the other for these 2, let's make that the blue one. And here they are in game, connected to the aforementioned pistons. For closing, we want this to happen first, which is done by the blue ABBA. And after that, we want this to happen, which is done by the yellow ABBA. So if we just connect the last output of the blue ABBA to the first input of the yellow ABBA, we will see the middle blocks close. Also, we need to toggle the connection between the ABBAs because they power on both opening and closing, and we don't want them to connect again on opening. Anyway, for opening, we want the yellow ABBA to be powered from the other side to retract the middle block. Then after 0.15 seconds, we want the blue ABBA to power, also from the other side. For that, let's add this circuit, which does a 0-tick pulse after 0.15 seconds, and let's toggle it once again, because we don't want it to power on closing. Now, as you can see, all of the logic and timings work, which is very nice, though we do need a few more things. Alright, so let's connect the singles to whatever ABBA we want, it doesn't really matter which one, they all power in time. And then let's make a dual-edge 0-tick generator that powers both of the ABBAs instantly from the input. We don't need toggles in this case because powering this piston does nothing on closing and powering this does nothing on opening, so it works out. Okay, I know that's a lot, especially if you're new to redstone, but understanding how to make doors like this is crucial if you want to make more advanced zero-tick doors. For example, an instant 4x4 circle door. Okay, I lied. This is pretty much the same thing as the 3x3, though it is the smallest of its kind and made by me and Jensen Glass. It uses some very smart inputs and sequencing in order to keep it as small as possible. Like there are actually only 2 input lines to power the piston layout. The trick is to power these lines multiple times in the same game tick in a way that only the wanted pistons power. It's a bit complicated, but it uses the fact that pistons take 0.15 seconds to reset after being zero-ticked. The standard instant 3x3 piston door. And this is also a pretty bad design, but this time it's because I built this like 4 years ago and just made it non-locational for this video. Alright, so this is the layout. The closing is this, these, this, and this. Simple, right? All happening instantly, of course. For the opening, it's this, and this. You start retracting the middle block, then these, and also the singles can go. Then you move to make it seamless, where this, and this power. Here it is at full speed. Again, there are many ways of wiring this, but the most common way, and the way I did, is by having 2 ABCCBA circuits. They are just extended versions of the ABBA, and also an ABBA circuit. On closing, first the yellow ABCCBA fires, then the blue ABBA, and lastly the magenta ABCCBA, and it all happens instantly. On opening, all of them power the other way around. So magenta first, then blue after 0.15 seconds, and lastly yellow after another 0.15 seconds. The wiring in concept is almost the exact same as in the 3x3 circle, except a little more scuffed. Okay, quite a bit more scuffed. Also yes, that sign is necessary. An instant 5x5 funnel door by me and Sacred Redstone. Okay, this is quite a big leap in complexity, but I also want to showcase some more complex stuff. You could have like an instant 4x4 before this, but oh well. Anyway, this thing is stupidly small for what it does, at 728 blocks, thanks to some really smart sequencing and wiring. The hardest part of this door was the instant triple piston extender that requires an update from the instant double piston extender right next to it. Also the bottom uses this goofy double piston extender to make inputs a little bit easier. Explaining this in depth would take like a few hours, so let me just move on to an instant 5x3 piston door. Yeah, okay, we're at a point where it doesn't really make sense for me to explain these doors because it would take way too long and most people would just get more confused. Anyway, this door is pretty cool in concept, but the wiring kind of sucks. So Jensen Glass made a smaller one with manganiso, which is much better. Also, if you want a little better explanation, you can watch my video on the thing, but the explanation on that is not great either. An instant 6x6 cave door. I mean, that is pretty cool, you gotta admit. This is currently the biggest door that closes instantly, as far as I know. Could be wrong, but don't think I am. The layout is actually so damn scuffed. It uses an instant triple piston extender to power an instant triple piston extender. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, I won't be explaining this one either, because that'll take ages. But for more info, once again, I have a video on my channel. A 2x2 piston door by the Commander RS that not only closes, but also opens instantly. You heard me right, I think. To achieve this, you need headless pistons, which are a thing. And to do that, you need to have blast chambers in the door with TNT dupers. Like, what the hell? I don't think Mojang was expecting people to do this when they first added redstone to the game, I'm going to be honest. Okay, it may not be the most complicated door in the world in terms of wiring, but just for how scuffed the whole thing is, I think it deserves to be on level 10. Okay, bye.